Hi guys, and welcome to the stream. I know it was a little bit of a quiet start here. It's been a while since I've done a live stream on YouTube, but yeah, welcome to this one, and it's gonna be all about Tenet, and we're talking spoilers, as you could probably tell from the title and the little update that we did earlier today on the community page. So yeah, we're just gonna be talking all about Tenet, spoilers, my experience with the movie. I saw it twice, and that was probably a good idea because it is one of those movies that you want to see twice to get everything that the movie has to offer, and that is something that I think is pretty standard when it comes to Christopher Nolan films. Is that you kind of sort of need to see them twice, and a lot of them you want to see them twice. But this one, like for me to really figure out what I thought of the movie and everything, I had to see it twice. So I don't know about you guys, and I can see some of you are already in the chat and everything, which is very nice. And you're more than welcome to chime in all that you want in the chat. There's also a link down in the description that will take you to Streamlabs, where you can also post a question or a comment with a donation. And yeah, if you want to do that, of course, that would be very much appreciated. This is what I do for a living, so anything that you can give, it helps a lot with the channel, and it gives us the opportunity to do more and more stuff in the future as well. But yeah. All right. Someone had to dip out. That is totally fine. 1 to 10, how good is it? You want me to do the 1 to 10 already? That's, yeah. I'm gonna do that a little bit later in the review when I sum up everything and when I have summed up my thoughts. But yeah, I hope that the picture quality and the sound quality and everything is all right. But if anything is kind of off, then please feel free to tell me as well in the chat or wherever. But yeah, let me just start this thing out by telling you about my experience with Tenet. I talked a little bit about it in the spoiler-free review, and that one is still up on our YouTube channel if you haven't checked that one out. Or maybe I should actually start with why I am doing this spoiler-free review this way, and why I'm not doing it the way that I did the this is spoiler-filled review. Why I'm doing the spoiler-filled review this way and not the way that I did the spoiler-free one. Where it's, I taped it and I edited and with the green screen and everything. And I put a lot of time and effort into, writing a lot of stuff down, but not a lot of people saw it. So I didn't want to put a lot of energy and time into doing a spoiler-filled review, like I did with, for example, Joker when that came out. I did like a 50-minute spoiler-filled review where I kind of broke down the scenes and everything, and that took me a long while to kind of write all of that stuff as well. But in this one, I just wanted to be able to just speak to you freely off the top of my head, and then you can chime in with your thoughts about the movie, and we can talk about it together a little bit. And this stream is going to go for like maybe 30 minutes, 45 maximum, because I'm also going to be doing some game streaming after this. But seems like you're saying the sound and the picture and everything is all right. So that is perfect. What's a tenet? I see Paul asking. Yeah, well, it's Christopher Nolan's newest movie, and they also explain the whole Tenet concept in that, and the way that we get explained, the way that they explain it to us at first is kind of like, I guess you've seen the movie, otherwise why would you be watching a spoiler-filled review or a spoiler talk? But yeah, it's about this, it's a word that will open the right doors, also some of the wrong doors, and it goes together with a gesture like this. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this movie. But going back to, my experience with the whole thing, I watched it first. The first time I watched it was with my father, actually, and some of you may know my father if you've seen some of our Band of Brothers stuff and the Pacific that we are doing right now. but yeah, I watched it with him, and it was just a bombardment of a lot of stuff. I mentioned in my spoiler-free review that the first half of the movie for me did not work as well as the last half of the movie, and that is very much because in the first half there's just a lot of exposition going on. They are trying to explain some stuff, but they don't really go deep into the explanations. And that's why, if some people are saying that this movie will come off as being sort of confusing, that might be why. And I was also sort of confused, or just it didn't really grab me in the first half, because they were, as I said, just explaining a lot of stuff, and getting into what's the mission for the protagonist, and the protagonist being played by John David Washington, the son of Denzel Washington, and he did a great job in this movie, and yeah, the acting is really good in the movie, I would say. But yeah, it took a while for the movie to get going, but once you really get into this whole inversion thing, where I think it starts, it really gets going for me when they go back to the airport, and when they go to the airport for the second time, and they have to sort of use the inversion to take care of Kat. That was also a funny little thing, a tall blonde named Kat in this movie. And well, yeah, just like Kat. So yeah, that's when the movie really grabbed me from that point on. When they started, using a lot of that inversion technique, and that's when the action scenes and all of that, it got really, it kind of broke the mold with what we see in so much other, pop culture stuff and blockbuster movies. Where, like Christopher Nolan, yeah, he's doing blockbuster movies, but he's still being very original about it, and he has some crazy ideas. It doesn't always make a lot of sense, but it looks very, very, very cool. And that's also, coupled with the music and the acting, as I said, and it just started firing on all cylinders. So I really, really enjoyed that part of the movie, definitely. And yeah, it's I also, when I watched it the second time, the first half of the movie, it got way better for me, because I knew what was going to happen, and I sort of had a better feel for the narrative and the characters and how everything fit together. So once again, it is the sort of movie that I would recommend that you see twice. That can be there are a lot of people who definitely don't think that they should have to watch a movie twice to like it, and I totally understand that. I don't mind doing that, and there are also a lot of people who don't mind watching a movie twice, to get everything, and to really make up their mind about, okay, what did I actually think about this movie, what am I gonna score it if you're doing a review or something. But yeah, watching it a second time, that helped a lot for me. That it just made it so that, as I said, everything kind of just fit together, and I had a way better grasp of the movie's narrative, especially in the first half. But yeah. Oh yeah, Chloe, I am live, and thank you for joining. And once again, thank you all so much for joining this live stream. I'm just gonna repeat what I said up top, because I don't think a lot of people were watching at that time. But the reason why I decided to do this this live stream instead of doing a pre-recorded video that I would then edit, and with the green screen and all of that stuff, is just because not a lot of people watched the first one, and it's just way easier to do a live stream like this, and then it'll just be up on the channel afterwards, and then it will just be for the hardcore fans, or the hardcore followers who really want to know what I thought about the movie, and want to talk spoilers and everything. So that's the main reason why I'm doing this. And if you want to contribute to the conversation, you are more than welcome to do so. You can do it in the chat, Or if you go down in the description, there's a link that will take you to Streamlabs, where you can also post a question or a comment with a donation. If you want to, of course, whatever you can that you want to donate, that is very much appreciated. This is what I do for a living, so yeah, anything that you donate, it goes to directly to the channel, and it makes it gives us the opportunity to do more stuff and stuff like just do stuff in general on the channel now and in the future. So yeah, and it's been a while since I've done one of these, just talking to the camera live streams. So if there's a lot of ers and arms and a lot of long pauses, then I apologize for that. It's just gathering my thoughts, and also, if you guys should probably know by now, but English is my second language, so sometimes I need to do a little bit of translation in my head before I actually start talking and like figure out what am I going to say, how I'm going to structure this sentence. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, as Chloe's saying, it's like Dark. You pick up on things, on a lot of things on the second watch, and it makes it so much more fun. So yeah, that it is definitely that type of movie, or this is that type of movie where you'll benefit greatly from watching it a second time if you want to. If you watch it, if you only watched it once and decided that wasn't really for me, I don't need to watch it again, or maybe you watched it once and you were like, oh, that was pretty cool, I liked it, but I don't need to watch it again. That's like, it's a matter of taste. But I needed to watch it twice to like really get into it. But yeah, let's get into some more spoiler talk here. I really want to talk about some of the characters that we meet in this movie, and I also I already mentioned the protagonist, who is played by John David Washington, and we don't really get a name other than the protagonist, and it is he's a hard guy to figure out at the start, because it's like, okay, how did he get into this? Like, we're just thrown into this whole narrative, and the movie opens with him going to the opera undercover, sort of, wearing this uniform and with the patches and everything, and trying to extract this dude who's at the opera while the whole place is being attacked by like terrorists, sort of. And it's at this point in the movie that we actually already like we do meet Robert Pattinson's character. We just don't really know it yet until later on, but he's of course the guy who kind of saves the protagonists in that room in the opera, where the bullet, it goes into inversion mode and kind of shoots backwards, if you can call it that. And we see this guy, who did it, running away with the backpack, and he has that thing hanging from the backpack, which later on in the movie, that's when we get it confirmed that, oh, that was Robert Pattinson all along. He's been in this all along, which I thought that was a great detail, and something that I picked up on a lot more on the second viewing, on the second go. But yeah, let's get into. I'm just gonna, while I'm talking, and I'm gonna go back and forth between my thoughts and then the chat. So I'm just gonna dive into the chat real quick, because some people are asking some questions. So what is your language? It's Danish. I'm from Denmark, and you don't want to. You wouldn't like me doing this whole thing in Danish, because that's just gonna sound like gibberish. Did you say you enjoyed it the second time more, or it's just a different experience? I actually I would say I enjoyed it the second time more than the first time. It is still like the action sequences and a lot of the big set pieces, and the music in particular, that really hits you on the first go around. So you can't really replicate the feeling that you get from that. That will still trump whatever is that you get out of the second viewing. But the movie overall just came together like way better for me on the second viewing, especially the narrative. And I also noticed a lot more stuff about the big set pieces, and I could focus on details, and the fact that watching a scene where half of the people in the scene are going forward in time, and the other half are going backwards in time, and the music, how it shifts when you're following specifically people who are going forward in time, then the music is just sounding how it's supposed to. And then when you switch and follow some people who are inverted, the music also gets inverted. And that's actually something that I only noticed the second time around. Once again, because you're being bombarded by so many things the first time. Boom, 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 yeah. um, so yeah, that was a long answer. But yeah, to answer your question there, Chloe, I did enjoy it more the second time around, even though it was a good experience watching it the first time. And Frank, and he's saying, to be honest, and you already know, I didn't like the storytelling. I think that Christopher Nolan was a bit too arrogant with the storytelling when you don't get a movie for the when you don't get the movie for the first time. Why should I watch it twice? Just because it's Christopher Nolan's? No, sorry, but the movie was impressive by the visuals and the score. Yes, that's what I also mentioned early on in this video is this whole thing about having to watch a movie twice. Like you technically you shouldn't have to watch it twice to appreciate it. But there have been like a lot of movies and series where I watched it the first time and I liked it, and then I watched it a second time and I got a whole new appreciation for it. And that has happened a lot with Christopher Nolan. But I do agree that he can definitely come off as sort of an arrogant filmmaker in the way that, yes, like he probably knew that people would have to watch it twice to like fully grasp everything about the movie. And the way that he's structuring the narrative, especially in the first half, is very confusing. And it can be hard to follow, especially because he has a lot of cool concepts, just throwing them up in the air and using them in the movie, and him reading about some cool sciencey stuff that he finds interesting, and then he'll like apply it to his narrative, but in a way where it doesn't always make a lot of sense, and he doesn't really go out of his way of explaining that. So there's a lot of stuff that you just sorry guys there's a lot of stuff that you just have to flat out accept that, okay, that's just how it is. Like you walk into this machine and then it turns around and you exit in a different room, but still sort of the same room. It's just only divided by glass, and that's how you do time inversion. And like don't really explain it like much more than that. And these objects going back through time, so it's the future and they're trying to kill the past, but how can they do that without killing themselves? Oh, it's the grandfather, what's it called, paradox. Yeah, grandfather paradox or something to that extent, where if you go back in time and you push your grandfather down the stairs and he dies, then should you also stop existing? But then how could you go back in time and do it in the first place if it always happened like that, and then you wouldn't exist in the first place? And it's just like, don't think about it, just enjoy it. So I totally get like it, and that's also like, if you start thinking about it too much and if you try to pick it apart, then the movie also it will fall apart. And that is also something that I think is in a lot of Nolan's movies, is cool concepts, very cool set pieces, great original action. The score is more often than not also like perfect, immaculate. Most of the time he's using Hans Zimmer, and I know this is a mistake that I made in my spoiler-free review, saying that Hans Zimmer he composed the score, but I didn't look it up because I was just like, well, of course Hans Zimmer did the score because he's always doing that. But no, it was Ludwig Göransson who did the score for something like Mandalorian and Black Panther, and he's done a lot of stuff with Ryan Coogler, and he's cooperating with musicians, and he's such an interesting guy. And the score that he composed for this movie is out of this world amazing, if you ask me. At least that's one of the best aspects of this movie, is actually the score. Not the sound mixing though, because sometimes, or a lot of the time, the score and the sound effects will drown out the dialogue, which that's sort of a shame. But that's also a thing that Nolan he does a lot. Like he did it a lot in Interstellar and The Dark Knight Rises. It was an issue for me as well. But yeah, let's see, Cass. What are you saying? I found the first half of the movie is less enjoyable as it jumps around and moves at a rapid pace. The sound mixing wasn't great, as the dialogue couldn't be heard clearly in some scenes, but I thought the score was phenomenal and it captures the intensity and claustrophobic nature of what the protagonist has to do. Yes, exactly. My words. I agree with you 100%. That it did really capture the feel of the movie, and it was a perfect marriage of what was going on the screen, with the visuals and then the sound and audio, and yeah, it worked really really well. I think so. Minus the sound mixing in a lot of instances, but yeah, I already mentioned that. And yes, it's yeah, as you're saying, PK, Hans Zimmer, he was busy with Dune. That's another movie that I'm looking very much forward to. But as far as I know, Hans Zimmer, he actually, when he was talking to Nolan and he told him that he couldn't do this movie, he was recommending Ludwig because of I think that yeah, they just mutual admiration and stuff like that. So yeah, he recommended the right guy for the project, which that's once again, it really worked out for me. But yeah, back to some of the characters here. We follow this guy, this protagonist, and it is jumping around a lot in the first half and following him, and he's going all over the world, and jumping from one scene where he's in Denmark, actually, in like off the coast of Denmark with the windmills and everything. That was filmed here, and then to another place entirely, and then a third place in the world, and you're not really sure where you are, and they don't tell you either. It's just you're being once again thrown into the story, this narrative, and it's just all about hold on for dear life and just try to follow along as much as you can, and just when you then get to the whole inversion thing and everything that has to do with Kat and Kenneth Branagh's character. I haven't talked about him yet, but yeah, that's when the movie gets easier to follow a lot of the time, but there's still like figuring out the character motivations and why the protagonist, he has to go and talk to everyone that he's talking to, including Michael Caine in one of just a scene where they're sitting down and eating some food and talking back and forth about how they should just approach this whole situation. That's yeah, and then you couple it with this whole we're saving the world. Oh, okay, those stakes are pretty fucking big. And I'm not quite sure about how it all fits together, but yeah, I'm gonna buy it, and I'm along for the ride, and that's how it is for a lot of this movie. And then as I've said many times now, and then when I watched it the second time, it was just easier to follow, and the narrative and everything, it just yeah, it came together. Yeah, sorry if I'm repeating myself a lot here. I see Frank, he's writing something again. Yep, totally agree with you. And his achievements in movies are impressive because he doesn't use a lot of CGI. Yes, exactly. And he definitely didn't do it this time. Did it in the classical way. But what I don't get, how fanboys are pissed off with critics. Yeah, I haven't looked too much into that. Because when you go and look at review scores, especially on Rotten Tomatoes, there can be yeah, it's take it with a grain of salt, because it's of course you can go by what the critics are saying, and critics will always be critics. They more than often have a different way of looking at things when it comes to movies. It's like they're watching so many new movies each year, so their taste is just different from the like casual moviegoer. And then if you look at the audience score, that's gonna depend very much on, you know, if there are some sort of like a lot of people will get angry about something and then they'll review bomb a movie, or like either give it like a lot of ones and zeros or a lot of nines and tens and like nothing in between, where it's like I don't really trust that. So yeah. But just when it comes to what critics are saying about this movie, it's not that it's, you know, all 5 out of 5 stars or 6 out of 6 or however you're rating this movie. But it does, you know, with Nolan's movies, they aren't always the most well reviewed movies because there are a lot of flaws in his movies. But then he's doing so many original things, and especially with the practical effects and using practical effects instead of using a lot of CGI. And he's very much, you know, he does not want to use CGI unless it is absolutely necessary for the scene or the story. So everything we kind of saw in this movie, you know, the big set pieces, everything in the airport when they blew up the plane, when they're attacking the compound in the end, where it's like big armies on screen. It's pretty much all of it is practical and just a lot of fancy camera work and people doing things in like backwards, like running backwards and doing fighting scenes backwards. Like some of those fighting scenes, whoa, they are impressive the way that they did that, and how well that it actually worked, because it could have gone either way. It could have just been like weird to look at, but I think it worked really really well. There were a few scenes where you could see that they were moving backwards, or they were, you know, reversing the footage, or that it did seem kind of off. but yeah. um but all right, Frank, that it was very nice that you were able to join the stream. Thank you so much for coming. And you're on your way to Berlin's Festival of Lights. Oh, that's awesome. I will definitely say hi to Kat from you, and yeah, thank you so much for coming and participating in the live chat. Um,
Bye, Frank.
and yeah, Kat is saying bye, Frank, as well. And Cass, you're saying you didn't know they crashed a real Boeing plane as it was cheaper than CGI. They stripped the plane and sold the engine, which covered a lot of the costs. I knew that they were using a real plane. I just didn't know like the specifics about, you know, stripping the plane and removing the engine. So yeah, it's whatever you can do that's cost beneficial. I guess that's what you're gonna do. And then Nolan, you know, keeping to his I don't want to use CGI thing, and just keeping it all practical as much as possible. I do want to say real quick, like when I watched it the first time, I had to go to the bathroom at one point, and that happened, you know, when they were explaining everything that they were going to do at the airport when they went there the first time, when Robert Pattinson was breaking down his whole plan and that whole no, it's not that dramatic. So how big of a plane do we need? Okay, that part is a little bit dramatic. Like I missed that entire thing, and them talking about like why they should you know, throw out the gold bars as a distraction when they were trying to crash the plane. Like, so I was in the bathroom while all of that happened, and then I came back, and then they just, you know, started the heist at the airport, and I was thoroughly confused, more than I was when I went to the bathroom. So that was also a nice thing to get on the second go around. So yeah, but we've talked a little bit we've talked about the protagonist, and it is cool, you know, finding out towards the end that okay, so he is actually the guy who's orchestrating all of this just from the future and sending directions to himself and to Robert Pattinson's character. Just gonna real quickly bring up the IMDb page so that I can remember some of the names. Yeah, his character name is Neil. Yes, that's his name. And I really really enjoyed his character and how he fit into the story, because as I already mentioned, we do meet him very early on in the movie. We just don't know that that was him, you know, saving the protagonist's life at the opera. So when we then meet him the second time around, it seems like it's the first time these two people are meeting up, even though Sorry, just gonna bring it up. Yeah, even though Neil, he did know some things about the protagonists, like for example, that he prefers, like what he prefers to drink and stuff like that. So that was a little bit odd, but it didn't really. It wasn't like a big red herring or anything like that. The first go around. So you kind of get into okay. So he's a character that can, or he's a person who can help the protagonist with doing some of these things that he has to do to save the world, and he becomes more and more involved in everything, and it becomes more and more apparent that okay, he knows more than he's letting on, and it's not until the very end that we really get a good feel of okay, so this guy has been involved from the beginning. How much does he know? Um, he's very, very, very capable at his job, and then at the very end we then find out that he has already had like a whole lifetime of adventures with the protagonist. The protagonist just hasn't experienced that yet himself. At that point, when Neil he tells us in the movie that we get up to some stuff and everything, and then he kind of goes back to the compound and sacrifices himself, and that is one of the that's one of the few times in this movie I would say that emotionally that you get really for me that like it has an emotional punch, because I was really enjoying his character, and then you find out that oh shit, he's going there to die, because that's what happened in that room, with him laying on the floor where the protagonist and what's his name, Ives, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. They make it in there, and then there's someone laying on the ground already, and with the backpack, and yeah, with the thing for hanging from the backpack, and you realize later on that oh okay, that was Neil, so he's gonna go back and do that whole thing because he's up again, and essentially sacrifice himself. But then he tells the protagonist that yeah, like we've known each other for a long while, and you're gonna meet me again. So that's not. So even though it is sad, it's still there's still a possibility for some more adventures with Neil and the protagonist, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, like a sequel sort of, or a sequel prequel thing, for Tenet, delving more into the technology behind the inversion, and what these two characters are getting up to. So yeah, that could be fun, getting into some more with those two characters, because I did really enjoy them. But someone that we also spend a lot of time with in this movie is Kat, as I mentioned, played by Elizabeth Debicki. And yeah, I'm just gonna flat out say it. Nolan, he's not really the best when it comes to writing female characters. He's not good at writing good three-dimensional female characters and giving them a lot of agency, and they're a lot of the time they're used as just like a something that furthers the plot, or like something that for the lead character to have some sort of emotional connection or romantic connection to another character. But she still did a great job. The actress, like she played it very, very well, and she was whew, that was some tough shit with her and Kenneth Branagh's character, Sator, Andre Sator. And I've been seeing a lot of people saying that Kenneth Branagh stole the movie with his acting and his role, and he is definitely the one who's the most explosive in his acting and all over the place, and he's angry and sad and intimidating, and in some scenes he can also be a little bit I wouldn't say funny, but like he has some funny quips here and there, and the way that he's focusing so much on his fucking pulse all the time, even while beating up guys with fucking gold bars. But to me, like it worked out all right for me with that character. It wasn't the strongest. Um, like his character wasn't the strongest aspect of this movie, and especially when it just came to characters and people in this movie, is not, yeah, not my favorite part, but I think that he did a pretty good job. The accent, it was all right, I guess. It's I'm gonna leave that for people who are yeah native to Russia to like really tell me whether that was a good accent or not. It sounded a little bit Hollywood-ish sometimes, and then with the scenes where he was threatening Kat or beating up Kat and yelling at her, and um, yeah, it certainly served a role, so to say, for the narrative and the plot, but it was also a little bit gratuitous sometimes, or it was just a little bit much maybe, and just okay, I get it. This guy is terrible. He's horrible, and Kat is in a shit relationship and a shit situation with, having to stay with this guy. Otherwise, he's gonna out her because of the whole the painting thing, and the thing with the custody and the son, and I get all of that, but it was mostly used in this movie to give the protagonist some sort of emotional connection to something. And then there's like a sort of a silly line in the movie that I just have to bring up. I do get the meaning behind it, but when they're talking about, oh, so this is going to be the end of the world, like the world is going to end. And her response is like, oh no, Max is going to die. So that means Max is going to die as well. But it's like, yeah, of course, the world is ending. Then that includes your son, damn it. But it goes back to something that she said, where Max is my entire world. And so it was maybe a callback to that. But that was just, one of the instances where I was like, Nolan, sometimes you really do not know how to write these characters. And that goes for a lot of the stuff in this movie where, I've said it a few times now, the narrative and the story is not the strongest. It is easier to understand it and follow it when you watch it a second time, but it's still, not the strongest aspects of this movie. It is 100% the action and the set pieces, how he's doing it in an original way, and then the music. So yeah, but the acting is great, and I've also mentioned that before. It is really great, and there are some scenes where John David Washington, he is like, yeah, acting his fucking ass off. And it is interesting to think of, him being the son of a very, very famous guy like Denzel Washington. And at this point in his career, John David's career, he's almost surpassing Denzel, when you compare Denzel to when he was at that age or at that point in his career. But we'll see, like, how far that guy goes. But I have a feeling that he's gonna become one of the greats, and Robert Pattinson as well. I cannot wait to like see him as Batman. I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff, like besides, of course, saw him as Cedric Diggory in in Harry Potter. I haven't seen the Twilight movies. I don't think they're gonna like. It's not my sort of movie, so I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it really. And Kat is saying nope off on the. She's sitting off on the side there and yeah, agreeing with me. Yeah, but as I said, like I enjoyed him very, very, very much in this movie, and every scene with him was very interesting, and you kind of hang on every word that he's saying. The way that he is delivering his lines is yeah, top notch. So yeah, that's that covers a lot of the big players in this, or a lot of the big characters, personalities, actors, if you will. And yeah, it is difficult still, even though this is a spoiler review, to like really pick apart the story and the narrative, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it is a very cool concept, and it is very, very entertaining, and it is. I've seen Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I've seen people talk about this movie as his most, um, yeah, one of his most original movies to date, and one of the ones where he's doing the most original stuff. Sorry if I'm repeating myself once again. I'm running out of words, but it's yeah, it definitely, when it comes to that, if I am gonna score this movie or compare it to some of his earlier movies, I would say that yeah, it's not his best movie, not for me at least. There are a lot of his movies that I enjoy more, or that I enjoyed more, like Inception or The Dark Knight or Memento, The Prestige, Batman Begins. Like, some of those movies are definitely top tier Nolan movies for me personally. But it is still like, he hasn't really made a bad movie per se. Like, his weakest movie so far would probably be Insomnia, but that's also not an original story of his. Like, that was an adaptation, even though it had like great actors in it, like Al Pacino and Robin Williams, rest in peace. So where does this fall compared to the other Nolan films? Lower tier, I would say, but it is still worth watching for the spectacle of it all, and the effects, and just how original it is. And I see some people are writing in the chat again. I trust this critic, and he mentions that this one might be veering into pretentious, overcomplicated self plagiarism. What do you think about that particular critique of the movie? Um, yes, that's what I also kind of mentioned a little bit early on, is the arrogance of Nolan, where he can come off as arrogant or pretentious, and trying to overcomplicate something that doesn't make a lot of sense either way. So that's maybe how he's trying to combat that, is okay, the things that I'm using, the concepts that I'm using in this movie, I can't make it make sense. So I'm just gonna make it seem like it's very clever and complicated and pretentious, and that was definitely the feeling that I got watching it the first time, and the first half of the movie. And I also have to say, when I reached the like the midpoint of the movie, like before the whole inversion thing kind of started and it grabbed me again, I was sitting there going like, wow, wait a minute, I'm actually not really 100% enjoying a Nolan movie. What's going on? Like, it's sort of boring. I can't really follow it. It's overly complicated and pretentious, as you said. And then the second act started, and it, as I said, grabbed me again. So it is very much a balancing act with this movie. And if you are focusing solely on the pacing and the narrative and the story, it's not a good movie to me. But if you couple it with the originality behind the concepts, and how he's trying to use it in big set pieces, and with the action and the music, and the camera work, and also sometimes the editing, then it elevates the movie so much more. So it's like, if the story is like down here, and everything else is up here, then yeah, it's yeah. So if I had to score it, and do a from 1 to 10 sort of score, I would probably put it at a solid 7 out of 10. So it's still, it's not 100%, in the middle, as I kind of just alluded to. It's still a little bit above that, but it's not top tier, as many of his films have been for me. So yeah, that's yeah, just my opinion at least. And you are more than welcome to share your opinion in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this, not live, and you're watching it after it aired. And I still, there's also, I mentioned it, you don't have to use it, but if you do want to contribute to this channel, if you want to donate, you can do so over on Streamlabs, and there you can also put in a question or a comment, and I will get to it straight away. It's something that we usually use in these live streams, but since not a lot of people are watching here, and the chat, the live chat is not, just scrolling and scrolling and just yeah, it's easy to follow. So definitely, you don't have to do it. It's only if you want to. But if you just want to share your thoughts, please do so in the chat, and then we can talk about it a little bit maybe. But other than that, we are nearing the end of this stream. It wasn't going to be a long one. It has gone on for 45 minutes, which I said was going to be the maximum. But as usual, I have a tendency to go on and go on and go on about stuff. And before I know it, it's just, oh shit, time flies by. But I see Cass is saying, looking forward to seeing Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland in the upcoming film The Devil All the Time, which premieres on Netflix on Wednesday. Oh, it's coming out this Wednesday. Shit. I saw that a trailer came out today. I don't know if it's the first trailer for the movie, but yeah, I haven't seen the trailer, and I don't even know what it is about. I just know that Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson, they are in it, which is, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that as well, and then seeing him as Batman, of course, Robert Pattinson. Oh, that's cool. Batman and Spider-Man in the same movie. I like that. That's pretty neat. But yeah, is there anything else you would like me to talk about when it comes to this movie? Something that I haven't really mentioned, or something that you want my opinion on? Then please just tell me in the chat now if you can. If there are still some people watching. And if not, then we're just gonna, slowly make our way to the end of this stream. Just gonna talk for a little while still, in case someone is posting something in the chat or writing something right now. But yeah, Tenet, it was a good experience. It was nice to see it in the cinema, in the movie theater, especially because it's such an audio visual feast, I should say, and that is where you get the most out of the experience. Like watching it on a laptop or a smartphone or something like that wouldn't do the movie justice. So I get why Nolan, he was so adamant about, I want this movie in theaters. And he's also a big, just a big movie theater advocate. Like he loves movie theaters, and he wants to do his part to like sort of save movie theaters, because they are struggling, and they were struggling before COVID, and then COVID hit, and now they are fucked, a lot of them. But he was able to get the movie out in a lot of places in the world. I know in the US, it's difficult finding a place where you can go see it and where you can also feel safe. And please, like, if you do want to watch this movie, don't risk your life or anything. Go watching it. It's not that special. It's just a movie. Even though like Nolan wants us all to go and watch it, and I don't even know how it's gonna make its money back. Because at the time, like right now when I'm filming this or when we're doing this live stream, I don't think it's past the $150 million worldwide, and I know that it costs about 200 million plus or something to produce, and then with advertisement and some other production costs, I'm sure, like I think I read somewhere, then it ran up to about $4 million, and then that means that it's gonna have to make about $800 million worldwide to just break even. And I have no idea how it's like, if it's even gonna get to that. But then again, I don't think Nolan, like him personally, and Warner Brothers, I don't think they are in need of money per se, but they may still be struggling a little bit because of just everything going on, with COVID. Oh, and there's another comment. It's from my mom. Thank you so much for joining the stream, and I love you too. It's always nice when your parents join the stream, or family members or friends. But either way, it seems like there's not any new stuff, anything going on in the chat anymore. No one's putting in any questions or any comments. But yeah, feel free to then just tell me how what like what did you think of the movie, and like how did you experience it. Holy shit, I am just losing the ability to talk. How did you experience it? Did you watch it once or did you watch it twice like me? Was it necessary to watch it twice for you? What do you feel about that whole concept? Like everything I talked about in this video, just yeah, feel free to comment down below and let me know how you feel about it, and then I'll make sure to go through the comments at some point. But yeah, this was just because I wanted to do it, and I also, I promised you guys when I did my spoiler free review that I would do a spoiler review or a spoiler talk slash discussion thing at some point, and this is just yeah, this is what I came up with, just doing a live chat instead of pre-recording and all of that. So yeah, I hope that you got something out of it, and that you maybe enjoyed it, liked what I had to say, or maybe you didn't. It's yeah, then that's just how it is. But I'm gonna end this stream in just a few seconds. But once again, thank you all so much for watching. Yeah, it's I once again enjoyed this movie. If I had to score it, 7 out of 10. Just gonna repeat that, just to be safe. If someone's just jumping to the end of the video and just want to know if I scored it or not, 7 out of 10. That's my score. My score for this movie, and that is mainly based on the score, the music, and everything going on with the practical effects, and how original all of those inversion fighting scenes were, and things going backwards. And yeah, it was an audio visual feast, as I mentioned before. But the story and the narrative and the pacing, it kind of drags it down, and some of the characters for me personally as well. But most of it it worked pretty well. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for watching once again. Much love, and I hope to see you very soon.